With us right now, Cami Guildner. Cami, you are found on the web at camiguildner.com. You are a coach. You've got an amazing community of amazing women. You put on events. You've got it together, Cami. I'm so excited to have you on.
Well, Josh, thank you for having me. I love this whole up your influence and let's get our voices out in the world. So everything about that you're doing right now, I'm super excited to be a part of.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. So Cami, high level, go ahead and share what your impact is and what you do in the world and who you work with and kind of the outcome you help them create.
Sure. I'm really passionate right now about raising up women's voices. I think it's a really important, as I think that women are out to make a difference and impact in the world, and I'm there to help support them put their message out. I'm a storyteller. I am a connector. I love to connect great people to great people. And I'm the whole work, my business is very based on putting your voice out, getting your thought leadership out into the world.
Yeah. And how do you do that in terms of like, how do you, like, what does it look like? We mentioned that you do events and you've got a community, but tell me more about that.
Yeah. So my work starts with the voice of who we are. And that means understanding who we are at our very essence, that core of us, and finding and building a brand from that core of who we are at our very essence. So I work with a lot of coaches, a lot of consultants, and help them find that brand that is uniquely them. We move into speaking your client's love language. And when we move into that space, we're throwing out a lot of the marketing that's out there that is pain-based, that's scarcity-based, instead starting to speak to our clients' desires. So that's a second element of it. And then the third element of it is really finding a message that only you can own. And that is, if the whole world could hear one message from you, what would it be? What's that message that is going to get people to do and act differently and show up and think of things in a different way? Then it's not a pretty meme. It's not a pretty positioning statement. It's actually a statement that gets people to think and do differently.
Yeah. Cami, I'm wondering if you can share maybe a little insight in terms of your observations of women kind of owning their voices. And I would say, speak maybe specifically to kind of in a business owner community or, entrepreneurial vein. Just any observations that you've seen over the past 5 to 10 years or so?
Sure. I think women have tended to step back and not own their true truth. And I think that they're really starting to know that if they own what it is that's inside of them, that fire that's inside of them, they can start to see things in a bigger way. They can start to see the impact that they can create. And so to me, what I've seen happening is women are saying, yes, I'm going to stand up in a bigger way. I'm not going to be quiet anymore. And, it can be, for whatever it is, their purpose is on this earth. I mean, I believe that we were all put on this earth right now to make a difference with the work with the gifts that we have. And so when they are starting to really step up into that, that means that they're stretching into places that might have been uncomfortable for them 5-10 years ago. And they're saying, I'm just going to truly be me. I'm not going to be positioning myself to fit into a box somewhere. I'm going to show up truly as me and with the gifts of me so that I can make the impact that I want to make.
Yeah, it's my observation. I don't know, again, but I've been in business my whole life, but, really went self-employed around 2001. And what I see today, and I think thanks in large part to great supportive communities. And I think social media has really brought it together. I mean, I just see, kind of the entrepreneurial world being a whole lot less bro-y.
Yeah.
than it was even 5 years ago. I think the past 5 years have just, I mean, I look at the guests I have on this show, it's about 50% female. I look at the
Right.
clients I work with, about 50% female.
Yeah.
And they are doing amazing stuff. And it's, they're, I think if I were to start generalizing, I see a lot more mission impact focused energy. Just kind of pretty subjective.
No, I agree.
But a lot, I don't want to say leading with heart, but there is like, it's more important to them than just making a quick buck. I don't see that vibe a lot among the amazing women that we get to work with. I see a lot more, I have to do this. I want to make an impact in the world. And I just absolutely love that. That's kind of our energy. So I think maybe that's why, we generally tend to
and I think that
we have such a like I said, nearly a 50-50 split with our clients/partners.
Yeah. And I think I came out of the corporate world about 13 years ago. I left and, I had a great gig. I was traveling around the world. I had teams all around the world. It was a great gig. And when I left and found a different pathway, it was like, oh my gosh, I can make a difference in a whole new way that I never even perceived of back in the corporate day. Back in the corporate world. And I think that's what so many of my clients were drawn to was, okay, I've left that for a reason because I'm being called to do something bigger. I'm being called to show up in a different way, to make an impact in a different way. And that purpose-driven approach to growing their businesses, I think really gets people stretching into new spaces that they may not have gone to before. It's just, I think that's the big shift that's happened.
Yeah. Tell me about the activity that takes place in communities. And, it's interesting. I don't see a lot of, and this is really interesting when I think about it from a gender perspective, is I don't see a lot of, kind of male communities as much as I see,
right.
Is amazing. Like, I mean, there's so much activity too, within these communities. Tell me about yours and kind of what's the attraction there and why is this working so well for participants?
I think it works so well because one, women are natural connectors. I mean, I think that's, women have been sitting in circle for a long time throughout history. That they've come together in circle. And so I think what, we've tapped into is there's this ability to come together in community, in circle. When I founded Extraordinary Women Connect, it was about connecting great women to great women. And it was like, oh my gosh, you need to know this person and you need to know this person. And so that became a very core foundational value that my community was based on. And I think what happens is that, and I'll tell you, when I came out of the corporate world, women were not banding together in that sort of way. In fact, it was kind of an ugly thing, right? There was, backstabbing, all that sort of thing. So I think there's this shift that has happened energetically for women is that they are starting to see, oh my gosh, we can come together and, 1 + 1 becomes 3 or 4. Because there's strength in coming together and understanding one another and really tapping into those core gifts of who we are as women leaders, which are different than men leaders. I mean, went back in my corporate day, I tried to model myself into, what's the executive way that I was supposed to be in the corporate world. And that wasn't really truly showing up as me. I was trying to mold myself into something that I wasn't. And I think when I stepped into the world as an entrepreneur, what really became true was that I could be me alongside other women and they could be them. And there was such a strong community that got built from that.
Yeah. I love that. Cammie, in terms of, obviously you've got the community and then you work individually with folks as well. Is that correct?
I work with my VIP clients. I do. But the upper level clients.
How does someone become a VIP client? What do you do there?
they take the upper packages that I offer to them. And so that's where people can do one-on-one with me. And they're part of my mastermind community always, because that's where it starts. It's the base teachings. And then when I can really roll up my sleeves and work alongside my clients, that's where, you see some amazing things happen. People really step into their gifts, and they step into creating companies that are making a big difference in the world.
Who would make a really great introduction? If and like, what kind of, maybe are there any pain that they might be experiencing in their life? Maybe what role do they serve professionally right now? Tell me more about that.
Sure. Most of my clients have started their business. They've got their core messaging down. They've got their core branding down, and they're ready to bring in more people into their business. They want to be reaching more people. So they're starting to really make that shift to one to many. So they're starting to get on stages. They're starting to write their books. They are on podcasts. They're showing up in bigger ways, and they're wanting a clearer message that will carry across those different platforms. And they want to become known as the person in their field. They want to be known as the expert. They want to, so I've got a lot of coaches and consultants that fit into that scope, but I've also got people starting businesses that are technology companies. I've got people who are starting businesses who are impact, working on a cause. One of my women is working in the world of meth toxins in homes. And so she's an advocate in helping change laws and create awareness around what people need to know about the meth toxins that's being found in homes today. So it's women who want to make a difference and an impact in the world for something that happened in their own story, right? And that's generally where it all comes from. There was a big driver that shifted them into, I've got it. I see this opening for a need for this kind of communication, for work, for tools, all those sorts of things. And it really drives them down that pathway of seeing things through a new light.
Yeah. So you've got a great, very active community, about 1,500 members.
Mm-hmm.
How does, if someone's like, man, I want to build a tribe like that. How did you do it?
One person at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I started that initially as a place for people to come together that were attending my events. And then people who were on my podcast got involved, invited into it. People that I was guesting on their podcast got invited into it. People who were my clients got invited into it. So it just started to grow and evolve. And it's really fun right now because we're getting a lot of new people in that community. I think somebody told me that once you hit that 1,000 person mark, it actually does start to, I think it shows up for people in a bigger way on Facebook. So I think I'm seeing more growth right now, but it's been very organic. It's not been an ad buy sort of thing. It's really been organic.
Right. Which again, doesn't seem like it would be in alignment with
no,
how you.
It would not be.
Yeah, that's so funny. Now you're putting together an in-person event. You're going to do it. I am.
Yay!
All right. Yeah. How has this been like? How is kind of the community world been over the past year and a half, and now kind of at that point we're like, yeah, let's get together in person.
Yeah. So, obviously we had to go virtual last year. It was my 6th annual women's conference, Extraordinary Women Ignite conference. And it was a big decision to go virtual. It was scary as hell. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my baby, this event. And to take it virtual, and it came out really well. And I had people who came back and said it was, the most amazing conference last year. So I'm happy that worked. And there are some benefits that came out of it because we became a very global conference last year. We had people from Italy, we had people from Australia, we had people from Canada. So we had a very global audience because it was a virtual platform like that. And so as we're moving forward into 2021, we will be live in Golden, Colorado, and it's November 11th through 13th. And I'm so excited to be back live because there's something that happens in real life that you just can't replicate on a virtual event. And we're in an amazing space. It's the Red Rocks. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Red Rocks Amphitheater, the famous Red Rocks Amphitheater. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so this is a hotel that's adjacent to Red Rocks, and it's called the Origin Red Rocks. And it's a funky, fun hotel. And, so it's going to be an amazing space. We've got amazing partners that are coming in for this. And I'm super excited to be back live.
What do you expect the transformation?
Yeah.
What kind of transformation do you expect will take place for the individual who wants to be there?
Yeah. So we've been, like I said, this will be our 7th year. So I know what comes out of it.
I
know what comes out of it.
You don't have to guess.
Yeah. I don't have to guess. And it's in November for a reason, because it's leading into that new year. And so it gives people space to really get insightful in their business, to think about what is it, the core message they're going to be taking out into the world. How are they going to be showing up in their business in the next year? And they really have this space to do this inner work, that listening to that wisdom inside, to let that message come forth. So it's a beautiful platform. And I know, people have come through that and really just blown up in what they can do in that next year, shown up in much bigger ways, because they started with a foundation of taking 3 days for themselves, in November of the year before, so that they can really step on in January 1st, ready to go rocking and rolling.
All right. So your website, Cami, is CamiGuildner.com. That's KamiGuildner.com. Click on the show notes, click around. You'll find we got a direct link to Cami's website. Register for the event before it sells out, and join the ladies there, and also your Facebook community. When you go to Cami's website, I found the link up at the very, very top. There's a little the Facebook icon. Click on that and it'll go right to the online community. Is that free to join, or is it paid? Or
it's free. Mm-hmm.
Oh, great. Hey, there you go.
Yeah. And we have some amazing men in the community as well. So
I didn't want to ask.
No, absolutely. Come join us, Josh, because we have some amazing men there.
Yeah, so I have actually spoken at a few women's conferences.
Yeah.
One was kind of a women's expo, but also a couple of great female leaders who we kind of talked about media and some other things.
We had a keynote. We had a male keynote last year at Ignite. Brian Kramer.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, Brian Kramer, who so he was our male keynote last year, and he was awesome, and people love him.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Cami Guildner, thank you so much for joining us. Was there something else that, in terms of like going to your website, is the community the best place to kind of start?
That's a great place to connect with me.
Yeah. Excellent. All right, Cami, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Josh. It's great to meet you.